So I am here to tell you that if you started to paint in your journal and you may not like what you've done like this, no worries. Do not rip out the pages because there could be some other things on the other side that you may like. So do not rip out the pages. All you do is you make a new spread. So easy. I reuse my little paper towels. So I like to place them in between. And then I make a new spread. I use Elmer's glue. And I'm going to use wrapping paper that's like writing, which I love. You would see it in all my stuff. And I put my glue and make like little like curvy lines. I have my cookie decorating scraper. And all I want to do is I want to make sure I get it everywhere. All the glue. Scrape, scrape, scrape. This is also why you need the paper towels in between, because if you went a little heavy on the glue like I did, it catches it all. And I'm just gonna have these. So I already pre-cut them, just so you don't have to watch me measure and cut. You can also tear them apart and um tear the edges and do all the things, or you can just have clean edges like this. Now, even if they're a little too big, it's okay because you can always trim it in the end. So don't worry so much about the ones that, kind of going overboard. Take your scraper, push out all the glue, make sure it sticks down everywhere. And then same on this side. I try my best not to get glue on top for this project. Most of the times I don't really care, but what the technique I want to show you, do not get it on top. Okay, so see, now nobody knows that you had a spread that you may not like so much, and so it's just gone. Okay, I'm gonna not worry so much about the edges. Okay, then whenever you, oops, don't do that. Whenever you get a pretty napkin and you kind of want to keep it, I will show you what is a fun way to use them, especially in your journals. Okay, so I tear them. The reason why I also like to tear them is because it gives a very uneven edge that is easier to blend in. So I would just go, and you can kind of tear like with a little bubble edge. So it doesn't matter that it doesn't go all the way. Oops, and then sometimes you get your flower. That's okay. Of course, it will be easier if I actually just cut them in half. Of course, that would be easier. And then clean them up. Very carefully. I still have all the layers, so it's a little bit easier to tear them when they are still thick. All your layers on your napkin is still right there. Maybe you want to make these ones a little bit less. Let's see. Maybe. I mean, I guess you don't really need to. I'm going to go a little bit in here. I will show you the final. So you can see what I mean. I'm just going to move my book here so you can kind of see on my table. So a little fuzzy, a little uneven. If you want to cut out, you can, but this just kind of decoupage a little bit easier, especially on like a busier background versus just your white. Okay, now to get the different layer, I like to use the painter's tape. I have so many. I buy them in large quantities because I just use them all the time. And I say go in the corner where you can easily fix it versus in the middle. Go here, stick a little bit, and it's very tiny, like the size of your pinky nail probably. And another one. And then you can peel it like this. But some of them have more than one. So see if you can reuse because you only need like a little tiny sticky. So most of them have 2 to 3 layers. So just double check. Sometimes this last one can be very sticky. So take it off. Be careful not to tear it because now it's really thin. So this is why to do the tearing around your flowers or whatever you want to paint or use, you do that first and then you take off all the layering and then carefully see if you can peel it off. Oh, it might tear like that. It's okay. Okay. Now get your school glue, or I don't like to use Mod Podge just because it always ruins my paintbrushes. So if I don't put it in my water cup quickly, I will ruin it. I'm gonna cut it on the fold line. So it can grow, and I am going to, so it goes a little bit up like that. Okay, and I'm gonna glue it. Again, put some glue down. You can use your scraper, which is now hiding under my book. Oops, you can use your scraper like this. Again, make sure you go all the way to the edges. You can even use your finger and then place it. Now, you cannot use a scraper on top of this because you definitely will tear it. So use your finger and gently, gently press it down. As soon as the napkin is getting wet, it will tear. So be very gentle. You can kind of do a little press with your palm. And you will just have glue everywhere, but it's okay. I think it's okay. So this is such a fun way that if you feel to do something and you do not know where to start, and you just then this is a fun way. You can also use, you basically use anything with this technique. I was just cleaning out my garage or looking for something and then cleaning out because I was looking for something. You know how that goes. And I found all these fun napkins and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna show you guys how to do this. Maybe I have shown you if you take my in-person classes. Maybe I haven't. Yeah. So take your palm, make sure you don't have too much glue, press down. Now, it depends on how busy your background is, and it depends on how light your flower is. It may actually shine through, your background may come through even more. But do you guys see what I mean when I say cut it out? I mean tear it out instead of cutting it out, because you can hardly see my edge. Kind of just blends in. Now it does work better if you have a napkin with like a light or a white, or if you can match your background to whatever's happening here. And then you will just have glue on your fingers to get off. Okay. So it does help, and then you can hardly see my edge. If I can bring it up for you to look, you can barely see it. It's so cool. And then you need the heat gun for the next step, or patience to let it dry. So I'm going to heat gun it so it just dries faster. The way I check it is as I go. You may have seen me done this. I would just push my hand down, and if it's not sticky, then you're good. So it's a little sticky here, but I don't mind because it's going off the page. Now, if you want to quickly trim your pages just so you can see where to paint, I like to flip it over and then use this side. So I can actually see where my book pages end. So if it's wet, it may be a little tricky to paint, to cut it, because you may just tear it. But I think I've dried it enough. So it's easy. And then just turn your book. So this way your book pages don't get smaller. It will look good from the other side. Oops. See that? And then I'm just going to do the same from this way. I take it off. Oops, I made my book page a little smaller. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so now you can kind of see what is happening over here. You can kind of see the flowers, but even if you cannot really, I'm going to get out some greens. Now, it is best to see if you can match up some of the green. So it's more or less kind of sort of the same, but if it's not working out, then it's fine. I have my paint palette right here. Getting some green. Getting a bit of a lighter green. The very mint green. I will get orange. And like a golden yellow. So a bit more of a warm yellow. Okay, so I have two different greens. I use a little bit of paint at a time just because it dries out. I'm gonna find a round brush, like a smallish one, and just have a lot of brushes available, and then you can just, mix and match it. Okay, I can look at this because this one obviously is easier to follow versus this one that's in my book. So I can kind of look at these ones, and I'm gonna get a green. So it doesn't really matter what green. We're not gonna go for accuracy. We're just gonna go for painting on top of the napkin. And I'm gonna extend it. So see how my napkin kind of ends. So I'm just gonna make it bigger. I'm gonna dip a little bit in that yellow. If you feel you are going to get paint, oops, on the pages, get a new one. Try not to use the gluey one. And then just extend it. Try to get paint on all the green you can see. And just make up your own new leaves. I like to not over mix so you can see, I don't know if you can see that. So you can see the yellow lines, it's not too much mixed in. This one, oh, there's some flowers, but I'm just gonna do this. Add a little bit of yellow. Orange also gives another kind of a hint of something to your green. And then also, I forgot to get like a dark kind of a navy blue. Not black. Try not to make any color dark with black. Don't always make a good color. Add a tiny bit of a navy blue. I love this folk art Prussian blue. It's so pretty. And especially touching the flower, it's definitely will make a shadow. So if you want to make that a little darker blue. And then move on, let it dry, and then come back with some of the yellow and the green on top. So painterly kind of, you don't really have to follow everything you see. You can even add more leaves if you want to. And then add maybe some yellow here. If it's too wet, it may just kind of flow and become one big blob. I'm just trying to zoom in again over a little bit better so you guys can see. Oh, there, much better. I am just adding green, blues, yellows. And these are just the leaves around my, I don't know what this is, maybe a dahlia. Maybe some yellow. And then blue and green, especially here. And definitely just do a little tap, tap, tap here and there with your paintbrush. Now, if you see, it's a little hard to see. I don't know if the light is now just kind of weird, but if you see lots of your napkin texture, just kind of give another bigger leaf here. It doesn't really need to make a lot of sense, just like a little bit. Okay. To get your green more like this olive green. So I'm just going to zoom out so I can show you here on my paint palette. To get your green, so I just kind of try to paint and I don't even wash my brush in between. So my brush stays kind of, and I just like touch this. So I don't scoop a lot of paint. I have not that much paint on my brush. So you don't have to wash it. You can just kind of blend it as you go. And just kind of see if you can, make more. Now, these ones are more like an olivey green. So I made a lot of dark greens over here. You want to take some of your green here and a little bit of the orange, and you can mix it in, and you will see the orange makes it more like an olive green. I don't know if you can see. And then again, I would just kind of use my round brush and just kind of do little lines. And then off when you're done or while busy and it's wet, you can come back and just add a small amount of yellow to that. And you can get that nice effect like they had on those leaves. So orange with a green turns it more olive. So for this one, I don't really want to use any white because white just kind of change it to a more lighter, I don't know, lighter color, which I don't like. Like a softer pastel kind of color. And so make up your own ones, paint a little bigger than your napkin so you don't really see the napkin. Mix a lot or add paint as you go. I will come back to these guys. So I will come back. And I know my book is like so poofy, so it's kind of standing up. So, it is what it is. Okay. More is better. Don't be skimpy on your leaves. Just, come back and add a little bit more. And then, okay, let's go to the other side. So we have more. We have more here. And we have more here. And here. Let me just see what this one looks like. So luckily the designs are always there's always a side that you can look at. So you can try to bring it back to life. So I'm gonna do thick. So I'm painting now here. See how fine they are? Right. See how fine it is over here? These little flowers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try my best not to make it too thick, but I'm just gonna paint like little veiny thingies in slightly a darker color. So when I come back with my white or light color, you will be able to see them. So I'm doing my lines a little bit thick and very painterly. But then I know I can come back and I can maybe make it just a little bit smaller. So again, we are not going for perfection. We are going for painting over the napkin so nobody knows we painted over the napkin. Whoops, I need a paper towel here. Just gonna use this side because I don't have another one. And again, darker is better, right? Because then everything just stands out a little bit more. And your flowers can become a bit smaller because you can just kind of paint over it. I like to paint all the way to the edge and then use my paintbrush and just kind of, so a round brush is really great for making like lines, like your little leaves. I don't really paint a lot with a flat brush. They definitely have their space for like backgrounds and big areas, but most of the time, a round brush helps me get stuff done. So I'm adding more leaves than what they have, just because I want to paint over the napkin. I want to make sure I go all the way to the edge. See how it ends right here? So I want to make sure I go all the way to the end. And I kind of want the yellow flower to stand out a bit more. So I'm just adding a few more greens. So I want to show you, if I just zoom out quickly, how little paint I'm using. Like, I almost want to say it's like a pinky nail or like a half a pinky. So don't squirt out too much paint because you literally like just like touch, touch, touch to get it down. You can also make this edge a little uneven in the middle of your book. So it looks like if you have a spiral bind, then I just deal with the spiral bind. I like a spiral bind, but you always have the spiral in the middle. I like it because I just add so much to my journals, and I like to collage, and I like to do all kinds of things, and it feels it can just hold more. But the types of journal you use is definitely your choice. Go like this. And then over here, I want to add a little bit more also in between all the leaves, even though you cannot even really see it's a napkin. Okay, I like it. I like it. I can maybe even add another leaf here. So it looks like it's growing a little bit more on this side. Looks cute. What do you guys think? Cute? Yeah. And I have a different towel for acrylic paints. And then make sure you squash out all the water. So I like to fold a little sandwich and just squash it. Okay, next. Flowers are coming up. So I still have some yellow, I still have some orange I can access from this angles. It turns out I didn't really use the minty green. I guess it's fine. I am going to need some white. And some red. And maybe like a burgundy kind of pinkish color. Yes. So again, it's easy to look at this. There's a lot of detail on this.
On Friday. Celebrate the start of the weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Hope you have a good week.
I have no idea why that just happened. Hold on. Oh, it was just telling you it's 5 o'clock on Friday. Okay. See this. I'm gonna so see all the details. You cannot really see them over here. So it's a good thing you have this. I'm gonna add some of the greens in here, and I'm gonna do the same tap, 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 tap with my paintbrush. So I'm using a little bit of the yellow. I should have done this before I clean my brush. I didn't really pay attention. Do this. And then add a little bit. Tap, 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 tap to get that texture. Well, clean your brush again from the yellow, the greens. Now, it is better to actually dry it. With acrylics, if you touch it, you're going to ruin it, or you can blend it. So I'm going to just quickly get my heat gun out again and just do the greens. I frequently check just to see if it's dry enough. So the touching the petals are dry. So I can go. Okay. Round brush. Zoom in. Mix the color you want. I'm going to use red and this burgundy color with a little bit of an orange. And I'm going to even use a touch of that navy blue. So mix the color. Maybe you have it. Maybe you don't have to mix it. Maybe you want to make a completely new color and that's going to be cool too. And I'm going to start painting very painterly on it. A bit more. Okay. Very, oops, that's too much. Oops, too much. So you keep on mixing, or maybe you have a color and you don't have to mix. And then lucky you. Okay. So I paint from the outside. I like to put my paintbrush down so the point is making the point like this. See if I can go slow. I touch a little bit of the white or maybe orange or maybe pink or maybe a different color. So as you paint, it kind of mix. It does not have to be exactly the color you see that's on the napkin. It can be something different. Add maybe a little bit of a white or a light, like maybe yellow or something. And paint. All the way around. I have painted here before, but I had a different color mix. So I may just want to make sure it's the same flower. So I'm just going to come around, around, around. Add a little bit yellow, red, pink. And I want to say play with all your colors so you can see what it's making. If you want to use white, maybe mix it just a bit with some of your base color so it doesn't just give a lot of white stripes. And now, even if it's mixing a bit, paint over it. See what I mean? Mix it with a little bit more base color so it's not so bright. Let it dry if it's mixing too much. Hopefully your green is dry so you can do that. The next time you go to the store and you see pretty napkins, look at them with new eyes because you never know. Or if somebody invites you and they have pretty napkins, maybe, take one. Okay, then move on. So that one looks good for now. It needs time to dry, right? So it's always better to just let it dry and then work from the outside in. So this one may be a little tricky to keep an eye on what you need to do, but I almost want to say just wing it a little bit. It definitely doesn't have to look exactly like this. But if it feels like you're just mixing too much, just honestly let it dry and then come back. And then add a little white. Oops, not that much. Good thing I make the boo-boo so you see not what so you see what not to do. A little bit more red. Some white over here. Oops, I think I touched the burgundy side. And keep on going. So it kind of looks very blobsy. Then you want to come back with your white. Now for me, it's much easier if I make sure my paintbrush have a point and I get a little bit of white. So I actually do this. I pull out and I mix it a tiny bit like so. And then I come back and I put mine straight from the top to get skinny lines. And then I can do that little outline. Make sure you do not press down too hard. Make sure you mix it with a bit of the color so it's not a bright white. It's more like a, supposedly, this one is not, but supposedly a softer white that's kind of matching your petal. Make sure your brush stays from the top so your lines can stay a bit skinny. And then make up the petals. If you cannot see them, it's okay. We are definitely going for having fun over perfection. Um, Sometimes it's also, so now be careful if you want to mix a darker color again because your brush have white on it. You may not get it. Ooh, this is a very interesting color I'm mixing. I may have to. So yeah, let me just wash my brush. So if you have too much white on your brush, you are not gonna get a strong color. So sometimes it's easier to make, and I'm going to show you. So I'm just mixing a darker color with a tiny bit of blue in it, burgundy, red, orange. To do the darker areas like this, that's in the middle. And I'm just going to let you now know that we're not going to paint all these little details, right? So you don't have to, but it is a little easier if you kind of go around, paint, 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 paint. So you paint a little bit bigger and then mix a little bit of white to get that highlight. And then just here and there, on top of this dark color, make your little triangle shape. So it's kind of more just putting your brush down. So it blends in. And maybe just a little tap here. So then you see what's happening there, but it's kind of, you kind of cover it. And normally your inside of your flower is darker. And then if you spot leaves you have not painted yet, just do it. I'm gonna do a little burgundy in this one. This is like a bud that's kind of on the side. And then some yellow. We are going for a fun floral idea versus perfection. Now, the yellow can be a bit tricky. So I'm going to add yellow and I'm mixing some of this color actually with it. And then again, I'm starting at the back. And I'm painting my lines. And the back, so from the outside, inside. So kind of like the rays of the sun around, around, around. Add a bit more yellow. Add some white. When you get to this middle part, you may want to go again a bit darker. And then tap here and there. And while we're busy, it's just not pretty, right? While we are busy, you just, sometimes you're like, I don't know if the flowers are working. It's probably not working yet, so don't worry. Come back and add a little bit more. Let it dry. I'm gonna quickly, while I have yellow on my brush, I'm gonna add more white to this mixture. And I'm gonna paint this one. So I love to call this the very ugly face, where you are just not sure what is happening. And then at some point it becomes very pretty. And you will like it. Okay, so I keep on adding. Also, I like the fact that I'm also going to do this one. I also like the fact that the paper gives these little crinkles, so it just adds, it gives it just so much more fun surface to paint on. So by no means is it perfect or pretty or super realistic. Even though the napkin itself is a little realistic, we're just not there. I'm making a slightly kind of darker base for this flower. So I can come back and add more lightness on top of it. Okay, I'm going to move on to these guys because it's also yellow and orangey. So I'm going to do the same idea. From the outside, I paint yellow, I go in. And then I go a bit into the red, maybe a bit of the burgundy. And then I do this. And again, if your color is too light, it's because you have white on it. So you may have to come back and just add more. And then let me just turn the napkin around so I can see. Oh yeah. Some orange, some yellow. Again, the napkin is so much more detailed. We don't have to stay so detailed. And then add a little bit of the red. Again, if it's trixies and it kind of blend too much, clean your brush, but just know the white can make it a little more pastel. I may want to just revisit these guys while I'm having it on my paintbrush. And then when I go into the yellow and white, I can kind of blend it in. Again, we do not need to know what kind of flowers these are. Kind of just want to see an idea of a flower. This is also going to help you to paint a little bit more abstract and a little bit less detail. I have not switched my paintbrush to a smaller one. I've done nothing of that. I just kind of keeping it like this. I just don't even worry so much. And then I'm going to let it dry because now I'm just making a mess. Let me see if I can work on these ones a bit. I can kind of pull out a bit of color. If you do too much, you can also come back with yellow from the other side, but let this one dry. Okay, now I'm gonna see if I still need to do this one, but I just want to see here while I'm here. Maybe I want to come back because now it's dry. So as soon as it's drier, it's so much easier to paint on it, right? So it's not mixing. And you can just use the heat gun to dry too, but maybe now you can come back and just add a few little lines to make it show up a bit more. Don't overdo it. And then, of course, if your lines are too much, come back. This is the thing with acrylics, right? You can always come back and paint again, and then let it dry and see how it looks. With watercolor, it's like one and done. Yeah, so I have kind of a nice looking good. I like it. Don't go all the way in here so you don't lose all your dark areas. I know that the napkin has even a little bit of green in it, but I'm not going to go in that detail. Okay, I'm going to let all of this dry and I'm going to quickly paint on this top flower. So getting orangey, red, burgundy. Try not to have any white. flip your idea. So I'm showing you how to paint this napkin. If you don't have this napkin, of course, it's going to be great. I just wanted to show you how easy it is to paint over something for your journal page and nobody will know it's a napkin or a paper or whatever. Make sure you go all the way to the edge, so paint off your page. Go from the outside and then make it dark. Mix a little bit of a lighter color and paint. All these skinny ones. And then come with maybe like the light yellow. Add a bit water of white to it. And then add more. And then more white. Nothing needs perfection. I have not taken new paint at all, so I use you use very little paint. I wish I can show you everything. My paint palette, the way I mix. It's like a little bit here, so I just pull out, but I kind of want to zoom in a little bit more on what I'm doing. Okay, and then there's just no stopping on this, so you can just always come back to a few little lines here and there to get different definitions. See how my white outline's kind of helping a bit? I'm going to work on this one. This one actually looks like this, but we're not going to do that. We are just going to have more white with this yellowy color. And then I'm just going to do, oh, it's the same color, never mind. And I'm going to just do a little tap, tap, taps at the top. In the same color, apparently. Something like this. And then without mixing or washing my brush, I am just going to go into green and yellow again for this inside. And then again, not washing my brush, I'm going to use the same kind of color with a lot of white in it to make these little guys. So I'm just going to use my brush and just tap, 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 tap. So this is where your darker background or a different background will maybe stand out more. But it is what it is. And then the same, so I'm just adding, maybe I can make them yellow so they stand out. I can do what I want. Yeah, make them yellow. Perfect. And then over here, they have that same flower. We just double check. Or a similar one, but I have it open. And I thought it could look cute. So I'm going to add Just dots, dot, 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 dot. Now, for the first time, I'm cleaning my brush after I've done the greens. And then I want to come back and just add a little bit more details. And I just needed no white. So I'm going to use the burgundy kind of color, the red, but little bit of a blue or something to make a dark flower color. And now I just want to come back. I use my paintbrush right from the top so the lines stay really skinny. If you want to switch to a different brush, definitely. Now you want to come back with details. And now is a great time to switch. And right from the top. So my hand is touching the table and I only use the little tiny tip and I just want to divide a few here and there. So if it feels like yours were maybe a little too much, you know, blending together or your leaf, your petals were too thick, come back and add tiny, tiny lines here and there. See how I can add definitions? I'm not going to leave those like that, so don't worry. But it's just a little easier to have a thick line or a line. And then to come back. I'm going to use the same. Oh, I don't even know if this one needs anything. Let me see. Maybe here and there, but I don't think so. I think the white is helping this one already. And I also think this one is fine. This maybe just that one that needed a little bit definition. But it's not hurting. Always add. Okay. And then I am adding some yellow and white to my color. And then I can make, oh, that's not the right color. Okay, wait, let me wash my brush. Sometimes you can get away with it without washing your brush. Sometimes you have to wash it. Do make sure that you always clean or push out all the water. And if you have very hard lines, just do a little wish over it. And I know it feels like we are going back again, but sometimes you just need a little touch again and it's just the way it goes. I'm going to add a little bit of a different color here because I cannot see the difference. And you make it your own. So it does not have to stay like that. And then come back with white. I don't even think I don't even think this one needs anything. I don't like the way it looks. Now if I add stuff, then I may not like it. Like what I just did. So now I have to come back with some yellow and white. So depending on your paint you use, depending on, you know, I cannot really tell you what colors I use. I mean, I could, but I don't want to because I don't want you to feel like you need the colors I was using. Go as close as you can, but change it. So what if you don't like a darker green? Then you want to go for more grass green. So then you're just gonna fix it up until you like it. I like the way it looks. It's so cute. I think bring some yellow back. Clean your brush if you want to. Come back, add more. And then at some point, when do you stop? You add your little green or pink, yellow here. Maybe it needs to be a little bit more orangey. Maybe white wasn't a great idea. And then you have enough room to do something at the top. So now look at this. Look how fun. Oh, I didn't paint these guys. Oh, let me quickly do it. Oh, I can do it all being zoomed out. So I need, and so look, I didn't use new paint. It's still a little bit of paint that I put in the beginning. Add yellow. Make it up, right? You don't have to follow a specific. So the only color I didn't use was the mint, and it's very little bit. It's like so, not even a lot. And then now from this angle, tap, 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 tap. Maybe a little bit yellow again. Tap, 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 tap. And there you have it. Look how fun this looks. And now you have enough room and it kind of looks cute to, what can we add on the top? I like to give my brush a really good swirl. So I get all the water out, the paint. I'm gonna just, my blue, previous blue that I covered up went a little crazy. So I'm just covering it up with some white. That ocean scene got a little out of hand. And then I didn't like it. And now decide what you want to do on top. And like a nice quote would look super cute. And so basically I covered everything. You can see kind of the ruffle edges that it could be a napkin. But if I don't tell and you don't tell and nobody tells, and then it's just like a little secret. Okay, I hope this was giving you some, and this can work with many, right? Many. I hope this gave you some fun ideas and look with new eyes at napkins.